The California Teachers Association, CTA, and the Institute for Teaching, IFT, present IFT Expo 2015, a series of presentations by IFT grant recipients.
Good morning. My name is Nicole Robinson. I'm the Dance Program Director at A.B. Miller High School in Fontana, California. Before we get started, I want to give you a little bit of background about A.B. Miller and about Fontana. Sometimes when I present at conferences and I start talking about the dance program, people start thinking, oh, that must be a really arts-rich community, affluent, and I want to tell you that Fontana is not that, and A.B. Miller is not that school. We are about 80% Latino, and almost most of that 80% is also on free and reduced lunch as well. We do not have a lot of arts education in the high schools, or especially, it should be more specific, dance education, and I am the only dance teacher in the entire school district. So as I start talking about this project today, I want you to kind of filter it through that lens. And then also the other thing I want to give you before we start today is that sometimes we have a predetermined idea about what we think dance is, and for some of you it might be the dance team, like your school is a dance team and that's what dance is for you. We try to do a college preparatory dance education program, so that we're not just focusing on movement, but we're talking about writing about dance, talking about artistic intent. So the program has more of a concert-based aspect as opposed to being more of a dance team. So I want to put that out in the atmosphere before we start. Talking about two projects today, the Riverside Trolley Dance was our 2013-2014 project, was funded with $5,000. And then the Dance Collaborative is our project for this year, and it's a chapter grant, so it is a $20,000 scholarship, a $20,000 grant because it involves about myself and 9 other teachers in our district. But first, I want to talk with you about the Riverside Trolley project. So my presentation will be a little bit heavier on the trolley end because this is a finished and complete project. And so this is a collaboration between our high school, the Place Performance, which is a performing arts and improvisation company out of Riverside, Riverside Community College, the City of Riverside, and the Riverside Transit Authority to produce the community-based Riverside Trolley Dances. For those of you that are familiar with the San Diego trolley dances, what this is where the audience boards a trolley and proceeds around the city looking at dance in public spaces. So the project was designed so that my students could work on collaboration, they'd be mentored, and also real-world practical application between high school dance students and local choreographers via the production of a community dance event. And then experiences from this trolley dance for Riverside would then help us produce our own version of trolley dances for Dance Anywhere, and that piece was added in because, again, our community is not very arts rich, so we wanted to bring this experience to our community. So we created an arts management company, and their responsibility was to produce and manage this event. And we did that with a bit of apprehension from the Riverside Trolley Board. Fortunately, Riverside Community College, their dance program is a sister school, and they went to bat to advocate for us. And the concern from the Trolley Board was that we could not have high school students running major parts of this event. That was a big concern for them. But I think at the end of this, they were completely pleased with allowing us to have that opportunity. So to start planning for this, myself and my students meet with the Riverside Trolley Director, and we establish their needs of the event support and the parameters of the support. And then my students immediately after that meeting start planning, and this is one of their planning sheets. And so they decided the areas that needed the most attention. These are just 2 of the areas that they picked. And one of the big things for them is that they felt like this event really needed to have legs in social media. And I don't know that if a group of adults had been involved in that part of it, would that have been a decision, and I think it was a good decision. And then they also talked about marketing strategies, and then you notice right here they wrote, how can we maximize the number of people reached via social media. The other aspect that I thought was very interesting that my students placed was, and I think this comes from their background from not knowing a lot about dance and then learning about it as students and knowing that their parents don't know a lot about dance. And one of the things that they said is the people on the trolley need to know what's going on in the dance. And I thought that was great. So they decided that there needed to be ushers on each trolley that would talk about the choreographers, talk about the work that they were going to see, and why the work was set in that location. While all of that's going on, we also have to be in production for our version of this event. So we are auditioning student choreographers and dancers for our version of what we're calling Dance Anywhere. Additional learning opportunities in this planning phase, my students needed to learn what site-specific is and what site-specific choreography is not. And the key to something being site-specific is that if it's removed from the site that it's in, the dance no longer works. So they met with Place Performance Director Sue Urginski about reading a performance space, meaning going and looking at a performance space and figuring out how can I use these tables and how can I use these chairs to create dance. We also worked with the Los Angeles-based Diavolo Dance Theater and worked on dancing in and on non-traditional spaces. Diavolo Dance does a lot of dance with props. They also, so my students got an opportunity to dance on platforms and 2x4s and all kinds of really cool things. So then we move into the actual production of Riverside Trolley dances, and I want you to remember how happy and pleased everyone looks right now in this trolley. This is actually from the 2012 version of trolley dances, and I put this in the presentation today to show you the contrast of what happens. So the A.B. Miller students are fully responsible for all aspects of trolley dances. This is a production, one of the promotional materials, the program that they helped design. And then they were also responsible for selecting viewing locations for the audience. And this is a big deal in site-specific. You want to make sure that the audience is in the right place to view the work. And so that little piece of duct tape that's there on the ground, I was forced to buy about 12 rolls of that because the group that was in charge of this insisted that we map out areas for the audience so they knew where they were supposed to go. And I think actually it was a brilliant idea. And then that is the trolley for the year that we did this. And so Riverside Trolley triples in size the year that we're involved, and I do think that that was directly involved with our advertising group. They did a really great job of getting the word out and doing some really innovative marketing strategies. My students were also responsible for managing site locations. We had a site manager at each location that would radio to the next site to let them know that the trolley was on its way, and so the dancers could get set. And they were also responsible for minor first aid, Band-Aids, and then also water and making sure that the dancers had what they needed. And then we also had a small group of dancers that worked with one of the local choreographers, and he actually set work on those students, and so they were able to actually dance in the trolley dance. So they were officially a part of every single piece of the trolley dance. Additional learning opportunities at this point, one of the things that our marketing group decided to do is to create some type of kickoff event for trolley dances, and so we did a dance improvisation installation at the Riverside Art Museum. And so for each one of the rooms at the Art Museum, the dancers wrote a different score. You'll get to see one of those scores right here. And so for each one of the rooms, they had something that they had to do, a list of rules of things that had to be followed while they were in that space. And there's our crowded trolleys. And so we moved from there to our now version of the trolley dances on our site. And so we scout locations on our campus to create work and make artistic choices about. And so they selected the quad, our library entrance, the new science building, our theater, and then the small quad, and then our new science building. And then there was 2 works that were actually in the quad. And over the course of 2 days and also 1 evening performance, we were able to allow our student body as a whole to tour the campus and watch dance performed in public spaces. Normally, our students view dance in this building, so this is a very interesting and odd experience for them to see dance outside. And one of the first questions is, why are we outside? But I think it allowed them to view the campus in a very, very different way. So as we were creating work for the public spaces, we were also thinking about how the work could be transformed for the stage, and that's the third part of this. So we moved the work from outside to the inside, and normally that is not done with site-specific work, but we wanted to challenge the students to revise the text in a different way. So the questions that they had to answer were, how could the work be redesigned for a new location and keep its original artistic intent? How does this change or transform the choreography? How could the theater be transformed to create a sense of location to the audience? And so the dancers decide to encourage dance in all areas of the theater, the aisles, the seats, etc., to give the audience a sense of dance in unexpected places while inside a building. And so one of the choices that they made were to remove all of the masking curtains on the stage so that the audience was able to see the entire backstage, to give them a sense that, yes, I'm in a theater, but this is not a theater that I've ever seen before, at least not like this. And so that kind of brings us to the end of trolley dances. So you'll notice that it had lots of different legs and tentacles. It really turned into a monster, but I think one that was very valuable for our students. So as we shifted into writing a grant for this year, one of the things that my students talked about was the idea that they didn't get dance till they were at high school, and how could we make that change in our district? And so immediately they said, well, we need to give dance at the elementary or middle school level. And I said, that's great. I said, but we want a project that has more reach. So how could we have more reach? And so after several discussions, we decided to focus on not just students, but students and their teachers. And so we came up with what's called the Dance Collaborative, and it is a dance education and arts integration for 4th and 5th grade teachers and their students. And the goal here is that if the teachers can learn how to integrate dance in their classrooms, this project continues on after 2016. So there are 3 groups of people involved in this project. We have teachers who are receiving 6 professional development modules using dance as a vehicle for arts education or arts integration. They are learning to develop lesson plans and curriculum to connect the concepts of time, space, and energy, those are concepts in dance, with the 4th grade curriculum. In those conversations, they're also talking about what arts integration is and what it is not, what it truly looks like, and then also developing an understanding for the California state standards for dance. And then lastly, they are working closely with artists in residence to deepen their understanding of dance education. And then those artists in residence are connecting their lessons with this idea of time, space, and energy, so the students have a very circle that they're working in. The 4th and 5th grade students are exploring time, space, and energy in dance by participating in a dance integrated classroom. They have 2 Saturday workshops with my high school students, live dance performances on their site and on our site, and then they have 10 grade specific dance classes with artists in residence on their site. So there are 7 artists in residence involved in this project who actually go out to the school site to support the teacher and the students. And then lastly, our high school students are responsible for the Saturday modules, and they worked with the California Arts Project, who's one of our partners for this project. And the California Arts Project is also providing professional development to the teachers as well. And my students are learning how to use backwards design to create lesson plans and implement the work that those students are doing in their classrooms on the Saturday modules. So that is the Dance Collaborative and the Riverside Trolley dances.
Learn more about the Institute for Teaching and its commitment to strength-based teacher-driven change at www.teacherdrivenchange.org and follow us on Twitter @CTAIFT.